My name is Sarah, and this is the story of how everything I thought I knew about my life came crashing down in a single moment. It all started one ordinary evening when I returned home from work, exhausted but content. The day had been busy, yet satisfying, and I was looking forward to unwinding in the comfort of my home. But as I opened the door, something felt different, off. "What are you doing here?" I asked, startled to find my mother-in-law standing in the middle of my living room, a suitcase by her side. She turned to face me, her expression calm yet unnervingly confident. "Oh, didn't you hear? I've moved in. I'll be staying here from now on," she said, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "Moved in?" I repeated, my voice rising. "When was this decided? I didn't agree to this." "Of course you didn't," she replied smoothly. "I discussed it with my son. He's the one paying the rent after all, so he has the final say." Her words struck me like a slap. The room seemed to tilt as I struggled to process what she had just said. My husband, Matt, had always been the practical, level-headed one. How could he make such a monumental decision without consulting me? I dropped my bag on the floor and fumbled for my phone, dialing his number with trembling hands. "Hey, what's up?" Matt answered casually, as if nothing was wrong. "Your mother is here," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "She says she's moved in. Is this true?" There was a brief pause before he replied, "Yeah, it's true. I didn't think it was a big deal. She's getting older, and I thought it'd be better if she stayed with us." "Why?" "Why?" I echoed, my voice rising. "Because this is our home, Matt. Our decision to make together. How could you not even talk to me about it?" "Look, I pay the rent," he said, his tone suddenly defensive. "I didn't think I needed your permission." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This wasn't the man I had married, the man I had built a life with. His dismissive tone, his lack of consideration, it was as if I were a stranger in my own home. "Fine," I said, my voice cold. "If that's how you see it, I'll leave you to your decisions." I hung up before he could respond and stared at the phone in my hand, my mind racing. This wasn't just about his mother moving in. It was about respect, about partnership, about everything our marriage was supposed to stand for. I felt a wave of nausea rise in my throat as the reality of the situation hit me. The next few days were a blur. I packed a bag and moved back to my parents' house, unable to face Matt or his mother. I needed space to think, to figure out what to do next. My parents were supportive, as they always had been, and my father, ever the pragmatist, suggested we confront the situation head-on. "You can't let them walk all over you," he said firmly. "If this is your home, you have every right to stand your ground." So a week later, we returned to the house. Matt answered the door, his face a mixture of surprise and guilt when he saw us. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice wary. "We're here to settle this," my father said, stepping forward. "You've disrespected my daughter, and it's time to make things right." Matt's eyes darted nervously between us, and for a moment I thought he might argue. But then my mother-in-law appeared, her presence as commanding as ever. "What is this?" she demanded, her tone sharp. "Why are you bringing outsiders into our family matters?" "Outsiders?" my father said, his voice calm but firm. "I'm her father. If anyone is an outsider here, it's you." The tension in the room was palpable as we all stood there, staring each other down. Finally, I spoke, my voice steady despite the storm of emotions swirling inside me. "This isn't about you, or even about Matt," I said, looking directly at my mother-in-law. "It's about respect, about what's right and wrong, and right now this is wrong." For a moment, no one spoke. Then Matt sighed and ran a hand through his hair. "Okay," he said quietly. "Let's talk." We sat down in the living room, the air thick with unspoken words. My father laid out our concerns, calmly but firmly, while Matt shifted uncomfortably in his seat. My mother-in-law, however, remained defiant, her arms crossed as she glared at us. "I don't see what the big deal is," she said. "I'm family. Family takes care of each other." "Family also respects each other," my father shot back. "And moving into someone else's home without their consent is not respectful." The argument continued for what felt like hours, each side presenting their case with increasing frustration. But in the end, it all came down to one simple truth. This arrangement wasn't going to work. Matt finally admitted that he had handled the situation poorly, and my mother-in-law grudgingly agreed to move out, though not without a few parting shots at me. As we left the house that day, I felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. I had stood up for myself, for what I believed in, but at what cost? My marriage had been shaken to its core, and I wasn't sure if it could be repaired. In the weeks that followed, Matt and I tried to rebuild what we had lost. We went to counseling, had long, difficult conversations, and slowly began to find our way back to each other. But the scars remained, a constant reminder of how close we had come to losing everything. Work became my sanctuary during this time. Diving into my projects allowed me to process my emotions while maintaining a sense of normalcy. My team's support was invaluable, as was the realization that I could still thrive professionally despite my personal turmoil. One evening, after another intense counseling session, Matt surprised me by suggesting we visit my parents. "I owe them an apology," he said, his voice filled with genuine remorse. "And I owe you more than that." Sitting across from my parents that night, Matt owned up to his mistakes. His heartfelt apology was met with cautious acceptance, and for the first time in weeks, I felt a glimmer of hope. "Actions speak louder than words," my father reminded him. "It's up to you to prove that you've changed." "I will," Matt promised, and I silently prayed he meant it. Months passed, and true to his word, Matt worked hard to rebuild our trust. He became more involved at home, and we established new boundaries to ensure mutual respect. Our relationship wasn't perfect, but it was stronger than before. Looking back, I realized that this experience, as painful as it was, taught me something valuable. It taught me the importance of boundaries, of standing up for myself, and of never settling for less than I deserve. And for that, I am grateful. Today, my marriage is a work in progress, but it is one I am willing to invest in. I have learned to value myself, to demand respect, and to fight for what truly matters. And as I move forward, I carry these lessons with me, knowing they will guide me through whatever